Hey guys, and welcome back to the English shooting live stream. For all the regular watchers of this, you know what the deal is, but for anybody new, welcome. This is an opportunity to talk about really anything gun related or otherwise. Of course, we do have the main topic this evening, talking about the gun trade. We get a lot of questions about, how can I get into the gun trade? How can I, turn my hobby into a career and sort of have a career hobby, as it were. So we'll be getting on to that, but there is a chat box. Anything you want to bring up, any questions you have, either about UK gun laws or recommendations for your first gun or anything like that, then please drop them in the chat segment. But I hope you've all had a fantastic week and even a fantastic day now as the day draws to an end. It's been a bit of a hectic and busy one for myself, if I'm going to be honest. Currently going through the processes of buying our first house, so lots of viewings and trying to mix that in with work and all other general life obligations, but yeah, so little tired, but I'll try and keep the energy up for you guys. But yeah, hope you're all well, and hope you're looking forward to the weekend. Hopefully the weather here does pick up. It's been pretty wet and miserable the past few weeks now. It's been a horrible May. But yes, you're probably clicked on this to talk about the gun industry. So you may be an avid shooter, you may be a keen shooter, and you may be thinking, right, this is the dream. I want to be on a range every single day for the rest of my life. I want my hobby to pay me and to have a career. And the first thing that I would say to everyone is that it's not what you think. You don't spend all day sat on a range. Yes, you do obviously visit the range probably more than not working in the gun industry, but it is proper work. You've got to pay the bills at the end of the day. You've got to be part of a successful business, so there is work to do. So there are many different avenues. It's a very general question of how do I start, where do I go to get into the gun industry, and it really depends what you want to do. It's like when people say, I want to start shooting, you go, okay, but there's many different disciplines that you can get into, many different types and distances, so you've got to narrow it down. And perhaps the job that you're doing, it depends on your age as well. If you're at college or at school and you're thinking, right, I want to go straight into the gun industry, that is potentially going to open more summer avenues like apprenticeships and things like that. Or if you're already in a full-time career, maybe looking at something that you already have experience in and transfer that into the gun industry. Of course, again, big businesses, you look at the Viking Arms, you look at the Egra brothers, the GMKs, there are going to be really mundane jobs in there that really has nothing to do with shooting, other than the fact that it's a shooting company. You still need admin and marketing. You need your own HR, cleaners, all sorts. So you could go in for potentially a mundane job in a company, that is all focused around shooting, and potentially then work your way up. I would say probably one of the sort of easiest ways is to go in as a shop assistant. Some gun shops are going to need some level of experience, but they may be expecting that they will have to train somebody up, and you can start working as a shop assistant just like any other shop. Again, a gun shop runs just like any other shop. It's not this mystical thing. There are a few obviously different areas in terms of the licensing, the certification, and the fact that you are dealing with firearms, so security is a big aspect. Something to consider is, of course, criminal records. Getting into certain positions within the gun trade, you're going to need a clean record, or certainly one with maybe minimal minimal history, and you're basically going to be needed to, if you're going to have any RFD duties, be able to pass the basic sort of standard of getting an FAC or even an RFD. So start in a shop assistant as a shop assistant role, or maybe going into something more mundane to begin with. But certainly for younger shooters, there are apprenticeships about. And one resource, not just for apprenticeships, but also for vacancies, is actually the Gun Trade Association. So they actually have on their on the website. So this is the UK Gun Trade Association, and you can see that they have a vacancy page. So all of these are, you could go and apply for these right now. And as you can see, I'm saying about, shop assistants, receptionist, events assistant, gun shop assistant, retail administrator, stock control. Again, something very sort of mundane in a way, and something that you will find in most large companies, but you could start there in that role. Gun room manager, assistant, you've got an apprentice opportunity there, apprentice barrel maker there, and also a gun room manager. So there's loads of opportunities there. You've got apprenticeships wanted. So I don't know, I think that's probably advertising if you're offering an apprenticeship. So you can see there's loads of options just on that website right now if you're interested in getting into the gun trade. And don't be shy. If you want something, you've got to go out and get it. Nobody's just gonna knock on your door and offer you a job. Go and email these companies. Go in, all the big names, or do some research on the industry. Go and drop GMK an email and say, do you have any vacancies, or here's my CV, please consider me for any future vacancies of something that you think I would be fitting. And you can do that to all the big companies within the UK, and not forgetting the organisations. With the likes of the CPSA, with BASC, with the Countryside Alliance, they have offices. They need sort of boots on the ground, as it were. And certainly if you're passionate about shooting sports and protecting shooting sports, then going into an organisation might be something for you as well. If you're passionate about something, if you are interested in something, then you're going to go the extra mile. You're going to do the extra research, gain the extra knowledge, and that's going to transfer very well. You can also start your own business, and that's sort of the route that I ended up going with Magload and Connors. Now, Magload was already founded, it was already started, but it was growing. We needed, Connors, I think, needed some extra help at the time. We need more help than ever. We've got Paul and an apprentice. So Paul Wyborn works for Magload. So there are apprenticeships and vacancies that will come up in the future at Magload specifically. But yeah, that's not, I don't think, necessarily the easiest route to sort of start your own company and start your own business. But if you have an idea, if you are into product design, or there's a service that you think that the gun industry is crying out for, or there's not enough supply of, then you can start your own business that way. Ranges as well, playgrounds, they need people to run them, to go in, set up the traps, to fix the traps, to coach and instruct people. So if you want to, I think you're getting the general gist that there are many different avenues that you can take, from the sort of mundane administrator roles to actually being out there on the range, setting up the targets and taking people round and introducing people to the first time, to your general sort of shop role, or really the possibilities are endless with it. But I would certainly use the Gun Trade Association to see the vacancies on that page. I think that's going to be incredibly useful. They do have some more detail as well in terms of not just the vacancies, but apprenticeships, government schemes as well. At the moment, the government is effectively paying for new apprentices for businesses. So businesses are, and no, that's not what happened with Paul. We didn't just take him on because he, because we were getting paid for it. We actually took him on pre or sort of mid-COVID, sort of pre big lockdown, let's just say. But at the moment, companies are being subsidized and effectively paid to take on new apprenticeships. So there could be a lot of opportunity out there, because it's not going to cost the company anything, and they effectively train somebody up for free, which could be very valuable going forward. So definitely the gun trade, and do your research. Look into members of the GTA. Look at who goes to the shows. You can use the British Shooting Show, Northern Shooting Show, the Target Shooting Show attendance list, and look through all the different companies and research each company and see what sort of thing they do. See if they have vacancies listed on their website. See, if there's any apprenticeships going with them. So you can really sort of expand and learn a lot very quickly, and just start cold calling people. Start giving them a ring, sending them an email. If you send out 100 emails, all you need is that one to get back. If you don't send anything else, if you don't send anything out, you're not going to get anything back. So, if a lot of people I see all the time is, oh, it's not worth me applying for this job because they're never going to say yes to me. And I said, well, you've got 100% chance of nothing happening if you don't send that email. Even if you've got a 1% chance of something happening, that's still, infinitely better than not sending the email in the first place. So you can sort of, in a way, fulfill your own destiny, or if you yourself put that barrier in front, you're not going to get past that. That is going to always be your first barrier if you won't send that email. Of course, a new member to the gun trade, as it were, is actually Neil from Rack and Load. So thanks Neil for joining. Of course, Neil, I'm sure he can give a bit more detail, but has just taken on I think it's gun room manager role at it's Livens. Is it Livens Guns? So if you want a familiar face when you go into a gun shop, then go up to Livens, which is in the Midlands area, Birmingham area. So yeah, maybe Neil can say how that came about, although I know he did have a good relationship with the gun shop previously. So it's about making connections as well, having the, if you go into a role that maybe you're not so was that a bird? I think we just had a bird strike on the window. I'll get the air gun. But yeah, so you need to sort of be prepared, I think, to have a bit of sacrifice. You're probably not going to get the dream role of Accuracy International's main tester, but you might want to work up to that point. But you're going to have to start small. To put it in perspective, I ended up taking an 80% reduction in salary to go into the gun trade. So there is a huge financial sacrifice for me, a lot of sort of stress and sort of worry, because you don't know what's going to happen. But I knew that the industry I came from, which was electronic design, I would be able to go back into if things didn't work out. So and I'm young, I didn't have a mortgage, wasn't engaged at the time, so it was a risk that I could take at that particular time. But you might have to do something else, get something more solid. And I did see also David from Caliber Innovations. Of course, Caliber Innovations have their own shop. They've got an online web shop as well, but that's being run part-time. So as David said, he has a normal job during the day, and then is Batman by night. So you can do it sort of piecemeal, maybe get a small part-time temporary job, but you need to really put yourself out there. And I think a lot of the people that get in contact that just don't have an idea of where to start, just start putting yourself out there. Start phoning people, emailing people, dropping into shops and say, introducing yourself. And in the meantime, be trying to learn as much as possible, what all the different guns are, what all the main, manufacturers are, what all the big names in the UK industry or whichever country you're in, so that when you go and stand in front of a gun shop owner and they say, okay, well, if you want a Mossberg, who are you going to phone up? Well, okay, that's Viking. If you want a Beretta, who are you going to phone up? Okay, that's GMK. And it's those little things that if you have that knowledge of the industry and the structure, certainly here within the UK, that's going to instantly put you above most people just going for a general shop role. But yeah, loads of different avenues. Basque have a vacancy sort of page on their website as well, so you can just keep an eye on that. Maybe you could go to Basque and make a big difference. I don't think it would be difficult, but moving on. So Neil saying, third week in the gun trade, love it, handy for the channel too. Absolutely. Well, I know how handy it is being having a gun shop sort of on site to be able to film in the past. It does sort of naturally create content, as it were. 20 quid is 20 quid. Personally, my prices are a little higher, Mocha. I'm a premium. I give a premium service. I mean, 20 quid, I guess each their own. Hey, English Shooting, how are you doing, my dude? I'm doing very well, but a little tired, struggling through, fighting through. I didn't think it would be wise to have any beer tonight, because I'd probably drift into a relaxing sleep. Having a couple of beers and being tired as well isn't, I struggle to speak coherently at the best of times, so I don't need to make it any harder for myself. But yeah, if there are any questions that you have about the trade, stick them in the comment section and we can discuss. Neil is the tea boy. I'm sure he makes the best cup of tea out there. There's a gun store. You're talking to someone else. What else are you talking about? Very hard. You've tried. Keep trying. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It's one of those. Just keep at it. If you don't keep trying, it won't happen. Start with about 700,000 for a gun shop and a lot of hoops. I mean, yes, again, that's like the blunt force approach is, again, starting the business. Starting a business. You either need an idea, you either need something that you've been sort of working on for years and it's sort of ready to take to the next step, or you just need to throw money at it. You can take out a lease for a gun shop, get all the accounts, get all the stock in, and start a gun shop. Yes, it takes investment. Yes, it takes money, but that is a route, not a route that I think is available to everyone. So you've got to sort of adjust accordingly. If it's just absolutely imperative that you end up in the gun trade, then you don't mind really what you're doing. You just want maybe the perks of working in the gun trade. Then just get in contact with the companies and see what's going. Accuracy International is down here in Portsmouth. Again, they're a big company. They've got a huge facility. They're going to have all sorts of different roles, all sorts of different jobs and vacancies coming up. So you never know. Keep searching, keep emailing and sending in your CV to people, and just keep at it. I've heard in the US that gun manufacturers are able to own a wider variety of firearms. Is there a similar system in the UK? Yes, so with RFDs, the difference between a personal certificate, or let's just specifically talk about firearms. So with a firearm certificate here in the UK, you need a slot for every single gun. You need justification and good reason for every single one. So just because you have the certificate, unlike the shotgun certificates, you're not able to just go out and buy as many or as many different calibers or many guns as you want. They all sort of have to be pre-approved. If you have an RFD, now you can still have restrictions on an RFD. Again, something that I've spoken to with Neil before, talked about with Neil, yeah, I believe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, but previously when he first got his RFD for journalism, they said, well, you're not selling guns, so you don't need a lot of guns on the certificate. So I think Neil's was limited to 3 or 5 guns that he could store at any one time under the RFD. Again, Neil, you can correct me if I'm talking bollocks. Wouldn't be the first time. So yes, it is more generalized. You can certainly buy and sell guns if your certificate allows. If you're going for a shop, let's say a gun shop that has a pretty big armory and they're not worried necessarily about the capacity or number of guns because you've got an armory to be able to store them, you are basically going to have an open ticket. You are going to be able to buy and sell sort of as many guns and many different calibers of guns that you want. And there was an RFD many years ago. A friend actually bought a BSA R10 from them, and he was doing it as a bit of a side business, but his office was within a machine shop. So I think the main family business was machining, and this sort of little gun room at the back was the RFD, and he was buying and selling guns through that, and obviously we bought the R10 off of him, but he had a 50 cal mounted on the wall, and we were like, Jesus, like, do you really get that many customers for it? And he said, no, but I don't really mind that. And it was quite evident that whilst the sole reason of having the RFD wasn't just to have this 50 cal, there was a legitimate business behind it. There were perks to having the RFD because he was able to just go and buy a 50 cal. He didn't need to go and join a 50 cal club or the 50 cal association and go through all the additional processes that 50 BMG rifle owners have to go through in the UK. As an RFD, he just bought it, and he could buy as much ammunition as he wanted. Again, that's another restriction on a personal firearm certificate, is you'll have your ammunition allowances. Well, apart from, again, the storage in terms of the the fire and sort of explosive safety aspect, you're allowed to buy as much ammunition as you want with an RFD. Can you reload your own ammunition in the UK? Yes, that is possible. A lot of people do it. We can still get all the same equipment over here. All the presses, the automated. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not a big reloader myself. I've actually never reloaded around in my life. It is something I would love to get into and understand more about. And obviously, you can save costs that way. But unfortunately, you can't show it on the channel. It's one of the reasons I haven't really got into it. YouTube doesn't allow you or doesn't want you using or showing the manufacturer, the manufacturing of ammunition. So if I make any sort of videos where I'm talking about home loading and the equipment that's being used, the video will get flagged. It will certainly be demonetized, although that's not a huge concern, but it will most likely get a strike towards the channel, which I definitely want to avoid. So yeah, but in terms of your question, yes, absolutely you can. There's a big sort of reloading culture here, and talking of 50 BMG, it's very expensive, so shooting something like 50 BMG, you almost have to reload, as it were, otherwise it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Why is that? I hate it when the arm gets in the way there. Just there in the corner. Just trying to get that. I was noticing the volume was a little low. Maybe it's too loud now, but anyway. Would you support not having slots for FAC rated firearms? Like, if you're a member of a club that allows up to 338, you can only own firearms to that caliber. Yes, if basically what you're talking about is what we were just talking about with the RFDs, effectively having an open ticket, and there's bad choice of words there, because you actually have a open and closed FAC, a firearm certificate, and that's in terms of the restrictions on where you can shoot those guns. When I say open, I mean being able to buy and sell whatever you want. My personal feelings on it is that if you've passed the test, as it were, to have a firearm certificate for any gun, or maybe you have tiers in a way. If the police have given you a firearm certificate, why does it matter if you have one gun or you have 20 guns? You know, at the end of the day, you only have 2 hands, and you can only carry so much ammunition. It's, you know, and yes, I suppose you could bring the argument of, well, if they approve somebody for an FAC air gun, and then they go and buy a 50 BMG, that's a bit different. So maybe it's, you know, sort of what you're saying, the highest common, or the sort of the highest caliber, or maybe the most powerful firearm that you are applying for. Anything below that, then you automatically are able to buy. And I think it's Canada, although Canada's not potentially the best example for gun laws at the moment. But I believe they've got different tiered licenses, and it's like you can, like for instance, you apply for the basic one that allows you to get a shotgun. You go for the second class one, you're allowed like handguns and bolt action rifles along with a shotgun, and then like the third tier is like AR-15s, and maybe higher capacity handguns, or more, you know, more powerful rounds and things like that. I wouldn't be opposed to having that sort of system. There's a hell of a lot of admin, a lot of money, time, you know, put into the variations, and I really think it would be great for everyone all round. It would be great for government, because they're going to save a shitload of money, or the police are certainly going to save a lot of money in the admin and the amount of hands it requires to process all those different variations. And I really don't think it opens any potential danger for the public. You know, if somebody has a 308, why can't they have a 223? What are they going to go and do with the 223 that they can't go and do with the 308? So yeah, I would absolutely be up for it. It's something that we have we've discussed previously on the channel. I really don't know why we still have this sort of slot system, especially when there seems to be like so many different mistakes with it, and you know, the admin isn't always 100%. And as we know, you know, I was going to sort of get onto it in a little bit, talking about obviously the offensive weapons bill. They didn't know how many Mars were out there. You know, they categorically said that, and it was something that I alluded to in the video. But doing some research while editing the video, I found there was a snippet where the police and Home Office fully admitted they didn't have a clue how many Mars rifles are out there. You got to think, what is the point of having all this slots, all of these slots, if they're not even keeping a record of what's out there? Like, what sort of difference does it make? And something that I found quite funny, but in a way quite terrifying, when I had my firearms collected when I lost my FAC. I had a gun with, it was the Beretta 1301 Comp. It was a way to have modifications, and they sort of grabbed all the guns and started heading off. And I was like, "Oh, hang on a minute, guys! Don't you want to know about the 1301?" And they're like, "What's that?" "Oh, it's a shotgun. It's a Section 1 shotgun." "Oh, we've got all the shotguns." "No, you've got all the shotguns on the shotgun certificate. This is a Section 1 shotgun on the firearm certificate." Perplexed look, and it was like, "Okay, where is it?" So it's with an RFD at the moment. You know, it's having modifications, and they're like, "Okay, just let them know." And I'm like, sorry, first of all, the fact that you've come to take these guns away from me because I've been deemed to be a danger to the public, as it were, and you were going to walk out of the house before actually assessing that you had taken all of the guns. You know, what had happened if I had like shoved one under the bed, and you know, and I was trying to deliberately keep hold of one? And then I was like, secondly, you want me to you're taking these guns away because you're saying you can't trust me, but you are trusting me to tell the RFD that this is happening. Now, the way that it works in the UK in that specific example, it's the RFD would be required to ask for my FAC before handing me back the gun. So as the law, you know, as the law stands, there is a protection. I technically wouldn't be able to, you know, get my hands on that gun by just turning up and going, "Oh yeah, I want my gun back." He would have to legally ask for my FAC, and the majority of gun shops do that. But not I've seen it in the past where that hasn't been done. So, you know, what would have happened? You know, I've just had my guns taken away because I'm a potential danger, and I phone up that RFD and go, "Look, I've got a comp this weekend. Can I come quickly pick up the gun?" Drive up and grab the gun, and then they didn't know about it. That's sort of the scary thing. If I'd have managed to have done that, and they come and knock on the door again and go, "Oh, we forgot one." No, you didn't. You took them all. Like, it was just a really sort of surreal sort of experience in that regard. And you know, I've said it before, I am a supporter of the licensing system. If someone has been deemed correctly to be a danger to the public, then, you know, we don't want them running around with guns. So there should be the systems in place to then accurately remove those guns and not potentially leave one floating around in the ether. But anyway, I digress. But yes, I would support losing all the slot system, because I really don't think it really achieves much. Sounds like you should start uploading to Rumble instead of the USSR that is YouTube. To be fair, I've given YouTube a lot of slack in the past. They are getting a lot better. Saying this, the channel's going to get taken down next week. Like, but they are incorporating guns. And I'll see. I don't think there's anything sort of sensitive to show. I'm very good at doing that, showing things I shouldn't on stream. But let's go into the settings of one of the videos. I made a video on this, but this I thought was very promising, and maybe I should do a follow-up video on this actually, because it's I said at the time I didn't know whether this was going to be used for us or against us, but when you monetize a video, and it's not doing it, fantastic. Oh, I really don't know how to show you guys. What if I upload a video? Oh, then it's going to crash my internet for sure. And anyway, there is a you have to submit a sort of if you monetize a video, you have to declare if there are certain topics within that video, and if you accurately you can actually build up like a score with YouTube if you are accurate in saying, look, this is something that I know, you know, the biggest issue previously is that YouTube wasn't clear on what they did or didn't like, and this new system shows you the things that they are looking for. And if you are talking about, or there is content around these certain subjects, so it can be like violence, you know, firearms, it can be, you know, sexual content, it can be swearing, things like that. And if you accurately sort of declare what's in your video and YouTube sees that you're being honest about it, you actually get more trust. So they, you know, what used to happen a lot of the time is I'd upload a video and it would instantly be demonetized, and then you'd have to like ask for a review. A person would look at it, and the majority of the time the video got remonetized because a person that I guess knew what they were doing could see that it wasn't anything really that violated. Since this new system has come in, a lot more of the videos stay monetized from the very start. So I think the system overall has been a lot better, and has been good for gun owners, or gun content creators. And yeah, I did think there was a risk that you are voluntarily telling YouTube there's guns in this video, and I don't know, maybe in the future they can use that to just switch off all those videos. That is still a potential long term, but certainly now today it's been a lot better. And YouTube seems to be anti-gun. Yes, it annoys me that you can't show home loading. Yes, it also annoys me that you can't show modifications and, you know, talk about how guns are made and things like that. It's just sort of asinine. When you can go onto Amazon and buy particular books mailed to your door next day on Prime, when you can go to pretty much any part of the internet and find these videos on other on other platforms, what does YouTube think that they're, you know, they're saving the world by not showing these videos? The content is going to be elsewhere. So yeah, it's not perfect, but I think it's moved on. I mean, Neil's unfortunately, you know, Rack and Load has got the brunt of YouTube's ban stick when guns are concerned. Before the channel was taken down for a little bit. Thankfully, he managed to get it back up. And there was a spate, a few years ago where channels left, right, and centre were getting taken down. But again, YouTube are growing and learning from it, and as a content creator, they are very good at communicating now. So if they change a policy, you get an email. Like everything that is ever changed, you get like almost like a weekly or monthly email, so that you can stay on top of it. And at the end of the day, YouTube's a private company. We're not entitled to use it. They are entitled to be able to kick people off and tell people what the rules are. But again, the issue was no one really knew what the rules were. So it's like, tell me what they are, I'll stick to them. But if I don't know what they are, I could just randomly have my channel taken down at some point. So yeah, I'll give YouTube some props for that. But yeah. What are you guys talking about? Canada allows you to own historical full auto firearms, but they have to be grandfathered and you can take them out of your house. Oh, you can't take them out of your house. So indoor range, basement range. What happens like if you need to take it to a gun shop for like servicing? It's just has to stay in the house, or you move house. Like, what do you do then? Like, no, the house comes with the gun, or the gun comes with the house. English shooting, you're 100% correct. I don't know what you're referring to on that, but thank you. What age is too old to get into Olympic disciplines, likely to actually compete? I suppose it depends on what disciplines. I mean, to be honest, any of the shooting bar the biathlon, like, shooting isn't a particularly athletic sport. Let's be honest. Let's be real with ourselves at the moment. Most of the top level shooters aren't exactly, Usain Bolt or Michael Phelps, or you get the general gist, right? There's a gut allowance. Being more rotund doesn't necessarily hinder your performance in the sport. Practical shooting, on the other hand, actually being athletic, being slim and fit is going to be a big benefit, but that's probably a whole nother different conversation. So really, age, I don't know. I wouldn't think that it comes into it as much as you'd feel. It's not going to be as big a factor, as it were. Now, eyesight is of course going to be a big factor, but you can wear glasses. But certainly for the ultra precision ones, I don't know if that's, if your eyesight starts going, whether that is going to prohibit you. But shotgun shooting, it's not as athletic, is it? You're just stood there. I'm not saying it's easy. It sounds like I'm like saying, oh yeah, Olympic ski, piece of piss. It still takes time and dedication and effort and training. And perhaps being older, maybe you won't have the energy needed to do the level of training that is required. But yeah, there are a lot of older Olympic shooters, certainly, in the disciplines that we do well in, although I would say our golden child, Amber Hill, sort of counteracts that. But yeah, I don't think age is as prohibitive as you might think. What age is too old? I don't know. I really don't think it comes down to age. It's going to be about your energy levels and your ability to train to the to the level that is needed. There's probably some 25-year-olds that aren't physically capable of doing it, and there's probably some 65-year-olds that could wipe the floor with them with the amount of training and dedication that they could put into it. It's and about ability, and I would probably say the older you get, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. There might be a little bit of that, maybe having the mindset and being able to be sort of molded mentally. Shooting is a hugely mental game. Whether that's clay pigeon shooting, whether that's practical shooting, long range shooting, you have to be able to keep your head. And the older you get, maybe you're not able to sort of focus as much and sort of keep and win in the head game. But I don't know. It's an interesting question. I personally, I don't think there's any limit in terms of age. Do you think pistols will ever become legal in the UK? Now, I always get pulled up, like, and I know, and perhaps, like, I'm going to be teaching you to suck an egg here, but pistols are legal in the UK, and I know it's so easy, it's so much easier to say handguns are banned, right? Because in essence they are. For general, sporting use, they are banned. But every time I say that, there will be a comment on the video going, "Oh, handguns aren't banned," and I'm like, I know, I've made a number of videos on that subject. It's a lot easier to say handguns are banned rather than handguns are no longer permitted for sporting use under a firearms certificate, and you would have to have a Section 5 or a 7.3 for, you get the general gist. Anyway, so I guess what I'm getting to is, I guess what you mean is, will we ever have them back on Section 1 for sporting use? Never say never, right? Talking about going and getting a job in the industry and you being your own barrier, if we have the attitude that it's never going to happen, it's never going to happen. Who else is going to make it happen, right? It's not like one day Boris is going to wake up and go, I should make handguns legal. Yeah, yeah. I'll do that today. But I know he does actually sort of seem that type of guy that would do that. But anyway, it's got to come from the shooters, right? It's got to be pushed by the shooting industry, the shooting community, and the shooters individually. And if we have a defeatist attitude about it, it's never going to happen. If we don't try, it's going back to if you don't do something, 100%, you have 100% chance of something not happening. If you do something, the chances may only be small that something happened, but the chances are still a hell of a lot higher than doing nothing. So I like to be optimistic about it. I like to think that we've, in the last 50 years, the country as a whole, communities as a whole have changed wildly, and yes, I would say that there is more chance of having more restrictions than getting handguns back and other guns back, but things do change. If you would have said to somebody 10 years ago, when was the Brexit vote, if you'd have said to someone like 10 years ago, or say 20 years ago, we're going to leave the EU in 2020 or 20, whenever it actually happened, so bored of it I just lost track, but yeah, if you'd have said someone, in 2020 we're going to leave the EU, you'd been laughed at. Oh yes, somebody was actually laughed at. Such a beautiful video. Who's laughing now? So you can tell which way I voted, right? So yeah, like, dream the impossible, right? Like, did anyone initially take Nigel Farage seriously with Brexit? Did anyone take like UKIP seriously? In the beginning, it was like a pipe dream, but it happened. And it wouldn't have happened without that one person going, I'm going to make this happen. So, yeah, I think it's possible, but it really ultimately comes down to the shooting community. We can point the fingers and say the police and government are unfair, and they never do it. And I just see that as a weak excuse. If we don't try and push things forward, that's why I talk about 7.3 and Section 5 and all the ranges. A lot of the clubs and associations around all of that hate it. They absolutely hate trying to shed any light on handgun shooting in the UK in its current form, and I'm like, nah, fuck you guys. You're not doing anything wrong, so why can't we show it? Oh, because the public. Yeah, but likewise, it's a great argument to be able to use that we already have people using handguns every single week without issue in the thousands. Why can't we have the discussion about bringing handguns back? And I've had the conversation with Andrew Mercer, the CEO of the NRA. There are 20 or 25 Section 5 sporting licenses for the Olympic team, and very much the NRA's plan was to then get 40 and then maybe 100 or maybe 200 of these licenses and gradually do it. That was like 5 years ago, and nothing's really happened since. So maybe there are 40, but they're not telling anybody. My approach, love it or hate it, is to tell everyone about everything and to share all the different facets of this sport. And I think if we stay quiet about it, if we hide things, because if the public find out about this, they'll take it away. Well, they're already taking everything away. So what's it's not like things have got better over the last 20 years. They've only got worse. So really, what's the harm? But yeah, anyway, I can't. I think they will. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to be optimistic about it. Hi Callum, I'll listen to you on the way home later. Awesome. That's right. If you've just joined us, anyone's just joined us, this will be available to watch again. So all the live streams go back up, unless I do anything particularly stupid on them, and then I end up not putting that video up. Although I have to edit it out, showing my address on the stream, but I blurred it, so it's all good. Or didn't I doxed? I ended up doxing Daniel, wasn't it? Sorry, Daniel. I'm sorry to hear that you lost all your firearms. What caused that? It was a number of issues. There was a false allegation of assault, which no further action was taken on that, but that sort of triggered a cascade of issues. So I'd already spoken to the police about some of the videos that I'd put out, and that at that point they didn't have an issue, and then there was this arrest, and then that sort of triggered the revocation. And the reason is sort of the reason I lost the certificates was down to the arrest, even though no further action. The reason I don't have certificates is because of content and views and opinions I've put out online in the past. So yeah, be careful what you put out online, and definitely don't advocate guns for self-defense. That's a big no-no. I mean, we can talk about it, but no advocating. How old is EnglishShooting? Any of y'all know? Me personally, I am 29. I know I don't, don't look it, do I? No, I look about 39. In terms of the channel, if it's the channel, when was the first video put up? First video that was put up on the channel was the 27th of February 2014. So we've been going 7 years. That's pretty decent. But the channel, I hate this about YouTube. The channel age, because I created the channel well before the first video. I sort of had the idea about it and created the channel. So the channel was actually created June 12th, 2012. 2012, the Olympics, of course. And I think that was probably a part of it. And I was also getting into it at school, at university. But yeah, it took 2 years pretty much to put up the first video. But now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. No, we're still very much the bottom. This is the dregs. Just so you know, this is the dregs of UK gun content. And it does tickle me that so many people like to watch it. You're all sick, deprived people, honestly. When did the slot system come in? I don't know, actually. When did the slot system... I honestly don't know. There is a guy, I might be able to ping him an email. There's a guy, I won't give his name out because I don't necessarily want everyone going to try and find him, but he is like an encyclopedia on UK firearms law, and it's the best example, and it was beautiful, right? This was in preparation for the sort of interview I did with Sean O'Neill from the Times, and what I was trying to find out was whether at the time that Michael Ryan, responsible for Hungerford, at the time of his application, whether it was a requirement for your GP to be notified, because it was well documented that Michael Ryan had mental health issues. And the argument, what a lot of people say is, we banned semi-automatic rifles after Hungerford, and now we don't have, we haven't had a school shooting with a rifle since. What I like to say is banning the guns doesn't work. It's the controls and processes around it. And what they actually learnt from that was that you need to involve the GP. You need to notify the GP, and the GP needs the chance to be able to tell the police that there's potentially an issue there. And that wasn't in place with Michael Ryan. And what I ended up saying to this guy is I sent an email just saying, by any chance, do you know whether it was a requirement to notify, or the GP to be involved in the process of in the granting of an application back in when was Hungerford? Was it 88? Well, basically the year of Hungerford. And he came back and he said, by any chance, did you mean this, is it any point prior to this date? And it was the date of, it was the date that Michael Ryan applied for his certificate. So I had just given him the year, right? And he knew exactly what I was asking. He knew I didn't mention Michael Ryan, I didn't mention Hungerford. I just purely said, was it a requirement before this year to involve it? And he just pinned it. He knew the date that Michael Ryan had been given his firearm certificate, and he also knew the answer to the question, which was no. At the time, it wasn't a requirement, which I feel is actually the cause of Hungerford. If there had been some sort of medical or doctor vetting, and the guy had known history of mental health issues, potentially they wouldn't have given the guns that he went and killed all those people with. That might be far too logical for our lawmakers, but that's what they did, and that is why we don't, in my opinion, we don't have the mass shootings, we don't have the issue with shootings in the UK, because we have these checks and balances, and it does prevent people that are potentially mentally unstable from getting hold of guns and doing something sinister. How the hell are you a danger to the public? Don't even try. I think the correct phrase or the correct term is unable to possess a firearm without posing a danger to the public or the peace. And I think it's actually more the not myself posing a danger to the public, like I'm going to run down the street and do something heinous. I think it's more the peace. And there was talk of incitement with the videos. So it was the Paris attack video. I've talked about it loads of times on the channel. I'd made a video basically advocating that people should be able to have handguns for self-defense in the wake of all of the Paris attacks that were happening late 2015. To say that the video was sort of passionate would be an understatement. And subsequently watching it back, I can see, I'm like, yeah, that's not a good look. It's not a really good presentation. It does, looking back, it wasn't how I intended it to go out, and I can sort of understand why somebody would not like that. But it was a specific quote that I had from the video, which was, you have to fight fire with fire, right? And what I meant with that is, how do you stop a bad guy with a gun? A good guy with a gun, right? There's no point running up to somebody that's attacking you with a gun with a knife, because you're, excuse the pun, you're outgunned, right? So the term fire with fire was meant in that. What I think it was taken to mean was basically vigilantism. So I was, the general gist of the appeal, it was like I was trying to rally people to go terrorist hunting, right? So that's where the, without danger to the peace. So, whilst I may not do anything, I may not do an action myself that would endanger someone, advocating or maybe trying to rally people up through an online platform for them to go and do something is where I think they draw the line at, the peace. Again, that's not in any way, shape or form what I was trying to get out of that video. It was purely looking at it that, hang on a minute, handguns are legal in France, right? They're legal to own already, and they have good vetting. So why not, during this pretty horrific time, there was like there was like a terrorist attack shooting in Paris like every other week. And you weren't talking like 1 or 2 people, like it was absolute bloodshed. And I said, well, maybe we should be like looking at, maybe that like Paris should be looking at, keeping themselves armed more, carrying guns for self-defense. And yeah, I think overall the presentation of it didn't do any favors, but it was taken the wrong way. Funnily enough, I think the day before or day after my appeal, the French government passed a new law which actually allowed off-duty police officers to carry guns. So whilst it wasn't just normal sporting owners, they like what actually I was sort of suggesting. Okay, it was police, and you could argue that police are higher vetted, higher trained with guns sometimes, and I can understand why the government and public would be more okay with the police being able to carry a gun off duty rather than just any public. But yeah, the general gist was there. And then also President Trump with Piers Morgan said pretty much exactly what I said. I know that's not necessarily the best link to make, but he was the president. No matter what you think about Trump, he was the president of the United States. That instantly gives you a certain amount of, this guy must know what he's doing. He wasn't, whilst people portrayed him as a buffoon, I really don't think under it all he was. But yeah, he had this interview with Piers Morgan and said pretty much exactly what I said in that video. But again, America has the Second Amendment, and he's the president. I mean, he's got 50 armed guards round him at any one time anyway. So yeah, that's the general gist of it. But yeah, then there were more issues. It's just like another, like, seriously, I've got enough to write a book at this point. That's the general gist of what happened back then. There's other things that have happened since, which just sort of keep on delaying things. Anyway, moving on. Spent a lot of time on that. How is Callum only 29? What are you saying by that? Do you think I look older? Go on. Keep on digging. Trump knows what he's doing. Oh no, that's got hidden, I think. Did it? Oh, Daniel's on it. Kalash, okay, I'm out. He won a presidential election. Like, whether you agree with his policies and his methods, he won an election. Like, you don't do that by accident, right? I mean, you can always steal an election. It's possible. I'm not saying it's happened. I'm just saying it's possible. But you don't like accidentally win. He didn't wake up out bed one day and go, "Oh shit, someone's made me president." Cool. In terms of the marketing, in terms of the campaign, it was incredibly. There's a lot to learn from it, right? And if you have stuff to learn from, surely they were doing something pretty special, if you get what I mean. Like, people are going to be looking at the Trump campaign for decades to come, right? People are going to be learning from what happened there, what they did, and adapting it. Like, look, you've probably seen all the things on Netflix, all the documentaries. Brexit was done in a very similar way as Trump won the election, right? And it sort of spawned this whole new form of not necessarily form of politics, but certainly form of campaigning, and how campaigns are won and lost, and stuff like that. And not forgetting that Trump, like, the American economy was like the strongest it had been for many, many years when Trump left. So anyway, I get he's decided to divisive character, and he certainly wouldn't have been my pick. Right, I wouldn't, if I was an American. I don't like Hillary or Trump. Like, I think I would have taken the Trump. there wasn't really a good alternative there. So it's so anyway, we'll move away from Trump. How much do you think trap/double trip shooters make? Fuck all. There is no money in professional shooting, right? If someone tells you otherwise, they are lying. There's no money in the sport, right? I mean, there is of course money, but you don't necessarily get paid. Yes, you win the odd competition, right? And that will pay the bills, maybe keep the lights on. But these top level professional shooters are putting thousands and thousands of cartridges down range, right? Or thousands of shots down range. It costs a huge amount, so you need sponsorship, right? And you can have a sponsorship that supplies you with the equipment. So getting a cartridge sponsorship that are going to give you the cartridges you need, that's going to save you a ridiculous amount. I think it was something like in the run up to, it was is it Peter Wilson who won the gold. He was shooting like 10,000 cartridges a week, like in the run up. It was something like stupendous like that. It was like mind blowing. He of course had I think he was Saudi. It was a previous gold medal winner who was, I think, a prince or very successful business. He had more money than he knew what to do with, and he ended up funding it. I think he paid him a salary, covered all his costs, and that's what allowed him to do it. And look at Amber Hill; she has loads of different sponsorships. I think she has a partnership with a car dealership, obviously Beretta /GMK, Ely, and she does sort of clothes. I think she various makeup stuff and clothes on her Instagram. So the money that she will win from competitions, I don't think goes anywhere near to sort of paying for a lifestyle or paying for an existence. It's all the trimmings round the edge. It's your sponsorship deals. It's your you get what I'm trying to say. Are you talking about America again? Always. Like, how? It's a gun channel. How can you like have a gun channel and not talk about America? Must be the COVID stoned. Speaking of transporting guns outside, wasn't there a concealed carry license holder who prevented a greater tragedy from happening in the UK? I'm not sure if I'm mistaken, but it was a while ago. So this was actually something that I was mistaken on. I thought it was a like a Section 5 authorized personal protection, but private protection. It does happen. You can get Section 5s for that in the UK. It wasn't. It was actually a personal protection officer from the Met. So it was a police officer, but yes, it was the it was the Westminster Bridge attack. I'm pretty sure he had driven the car into people, and then got out with a knife. I think he ended up killing or certainly seriously hurting a police officer, who I guess was unarmed. And I don't know why there weren't armed guards. I don't know the situation off the top of my head. But basically, it was an MP's personal protection officer that ended up drawing a concealed handgun and shooting the guy dead. And you're very right. If that guy hadn't have been there, more people would have died. But outside of Parliament, there's usually guys stood there with G36s. So I don't know the reason why it came down to that guy. But these sorts of situations are chaotic. All sorts of shit's happening. No one knows what's going on, and threats sort of come out from anywhere. So, but yeah, it was somebody who had a concealed firearm that ended up stopping that attack. Unlike the totally unconcealable narwhal tusk. Or maybe you could get like a telescopic narwhal tusk. Like, try me, motherfucker. I'll put your eyes out. Trump had America's best interest at heart. I think certainly wasn't in for the money. Well, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there were, all of the accusations that he was doing sort of things on the side, and there were, there was potential for him to make money, but it depends who you want to believe. There's a lot of evidence that suggests he actually lost an incredible amount of money because he wasn't able to put the time into his businesses. But like, no president or prime minister ends up homeless, right? Look at Tony Blair, look at Cameron, look what's going on with Cameron at the moment, right? They all have these agreements, these these backhand agreements, that is, you do something for me now, and 5 or 10 years after you're not the prime minister or an MP anymore, I'm going to pay you a consultancy fee. Like, everyone knows what's going on. I think in some way Trump was more susceptible to that because he had billion-dollar businesses, and he there would 100% be some sort of conflict. If you're going to pass a law that is going to affect a billion-dollar business, you might want to tweak it. But then, having said that, he knows what's actually going to affect businesses, so he knows the runnings of them, so therefore can hopefully make better laws. But on the flip side, yeah, being a multi-billionaire does make you pretty immune to bribery. Someone comes along and goes, I'm going to pay you £10 million to make this law. You're going to go, ha, 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 I've got cars more expensive than that. It's, but yeah, is he the greatest president ever? Probably not. Did he do a bad job? I don't think so. Many UK cops, what are you talking about? If it's legal because Israel is the West ally, we should be looking at. Well, that's definitely a difficult subject, and let's move away from. Oh God, you talk about Kim Jong-un. Trump was a chump for world policy. Kim Jong-un still has his nuclear weapon program. Middle East is still on fire, and we're still drone striking them. Well, you're still drone striking them now because Biden's pressing the button. Trump actually, he pulled why a lot of, like, do I want to get into this topic? I think a lot of the issues in terms of war, and like, okay, let's take ISIS, right? ISIS grew from an extreme element of an extreme element, right? And it's because we spent so many years bombing the shit out of these countries. Like, it created ISIS, right? We created ISIS, bombing people for 20 years non-stop created ISIS, right? And I think there becomes a time where you just have to let things be. Was Saddam Hussein the best person in the world? Absolutely not. But you could have a really interesting discussion of whether the country's better off now or previously. Like, yeah, he absolutely did horrific things. But there's been like 20 years of war there, because we decided, or America decided to go in and relieve him. Have they left it a better place? It'd be an interesting discussion. So yeah, I think actually Trump's approach was, if we stop bombing the shit out of people, maybe we'll have less terrorism. And I think there's something to be said for that. And look, Kim Jong-un, he doesn't care, right? You can't bully him. You can't, we're going to take away your toys. Yeah, my toys are quite big and sharp and explosive. Like, you have to sort of give somebody like that, I would imagine, certain amount of like compensation in a way, a bit of leeway, and you don't want to be pissing off a dictator that has his finger over a nuclear button. So you sort of, in a way, just have to make that allowance that's going to happen. And if you keep him happy, he's less likely to nuke you. If you start invading him and trying to take away his toys, you actually increase the chance of him using those toys. That's just how I see it anyway. But anyway, let's get back on to keep politics neutral or you'll be muted. Are you talking to me or the or the comments? Got a question, Callum. Is the Walther 1911 worth getting over the GSG for target? How's the accuracy on each? And for casual comp, 100% get the Walther. It's a much better gun, much better built all round. I did have a Gen 2 GSG LBP. I personally didn't have any problems with it, but when you put it alongside the Walther, the Walther is just hands down better. In terms of accuracy, I think it's a bit of a muchness between them, but the Walther 1911 seems to be slightly better built and slightly more reliable overall. Stay out of the sandbox is the moral of the story. It's none of our business. Like, exactly. I mean, you've just been able to summarize 5 minutes of rambling in one sentence. But yeah, it's like, but then can you sit by and watch the horrific things happen? It's a difficult one. It's probably why I'm not Prime Minister, or wouldn't be Prime Minister. New flag for you guys, pirate ship, English and Scott. What the fuck is going on there? Loving the stream, mate. Thank you. Appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. And likes, hit the like button, guys. It does help. You want to beat the YouTube algorithm. You want to share this sport with as many people possible. Hit the like button. It really does help. Rocket man. Don't ask a question if you won't accept the answer. GSG Gen 2 better than the 1911. Is that what you were saying? Will please someone make a 2.2 SLR? Anyone can post a Scotland flan. What? And why are you talking about flags? You are subbed and liked. Thank you, top man. Callum, what do you think we can get air guns back off of the license in Scotland? Actually, I think that is very likely to happen. Not necessarily in the near future, but at some point, because it's undoubtedly a failure, right? It didn't have, like, it was something like only like 15% of it was some small percentage of guns that they thought were out there were actually handed in or licensed. So there's still all of these unlicensed air guns out there. It's a complete shambles, especially when you can, like, someone from Scotland could just drive into England, buy an air gun and drive back. You know, like, yes, it's against the law, right? That's, you know, and of course people never break the law. They would never, you know, take an hour trip into England, buy it and go across the border, because, you know, that doesn't happen with America and Canada, and doesn't happen with, you know, the USA and Mexico, right? They just, people never do illegal things across borders. So first of all, makes it completely meaningless, because England doesn't have a license. You can just go and buy one and take it in. And yes, that would be a crime, but if you're going to go and commit something heinous with that air rifle in the first place, you're not going to be worried about driving over to England to buy it to take it back. And again, I think it was a whole waste of money. I think it's continuing to be a huge waste of money because of the admin and effort and time that is involved. And I think they will at some point admit defeat. You know, when Scotland probably gets independence and they're trying to realise, well, or they're trying to find all the money that they once had, they're going to be trying to cut costs as quickly as possible. Stream's gone black. Oh dear. Have we dropped? Have we dropped? No, I don't know. Reload the stream and it will load. I guess it's just your connection. FYI, I didn't say this at the start. I've been having horrible internet connections to like the connection just kept going. Saying that it was just flickering. I'm actually streaming completely off of my phone, which I've never done before. And I thought, like, basically the the internet connection, the Virgin Media, great advert for Virgin Media, reliable as fuck. So it dropped out, and I almost thought I was gonna have to cancel the stream. And I thought, well, I've always wanted to try doing it via the hotspot on my phone. and I think it's held up. You know, I think it's all right. So it's certainly a good backup. I've just said that, and I know it's gonna drop out now. I mean, Daniel, I'm not so like, I know I've been seeing like Stephen, you sent me a message, right? Stephen and I have had a various back and forth on email, and I did explain maybe to tone it down a bit, right? And I said, if you're annoying people or upsetting people, it's because you probably need to tone it down a bit. I think now is a really good case of this. However, I will your question. So I don't know if it's visible anymore. But the message you wrote: would you be upset with me if I was to suggest to get rid of all FAC or SGC in the UK? It's not necessarily to have licensing. You might counter it, talk about public safety. So would I be opposed? Well, would I be upset with you suggesting it? No. Like, I'm a very big believer in freedom of speech. I believe that people should be able to say what they want, right? They should be able to talk about what any topics they want and hold whatever opinions they hold, right? If we don't, then you end up with extremists, right? If you're not allowed to voice your opinion and have the greater public tell you you're wrong, then you go and find other people. You know, if you know that your view is going to get you cancelled, you know, your view is going to cause you issues at work, then what you're going to do is you're going to keep it in, and you're going to go and find people and create an echo chamber to create a cell, right? So I think actually one of the biggest ways that we move forward as a society is having difficult conversations. And I think difficult conversations, controversial conversations are getting less and less. We're less able to facilitate it because people lose their shit. They cancel people. It loses people's job. And I think we are being hindered as a society by not being able to have these difficult conversations. So I would never ever get upset with somebody suggesting something or wanting to ever have a discussion about something. I'm all for that. So getting rid of an FAC, getting rid of the licensing, the certification system, I would be against it, right? As much as it can be an absolute pain in the ass. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's perfect. I think there are big changes that could be made, and there are big improvements that could be made to our certificate and licensing system. But overall, I think we are better off with it. And this is purely for the UK, right? This isn't anything to do with America. This isn't anything to do with Europe or any other country. This is purely myself being, born and bred in England, growing up in England, and, being a part of the shooting community in England. I think that, certainly qualifies me to talk about what I think is best for England or for the United Kingdom. And a lot of people take my advocacy for certificates and certification as I want every country to have it, right? No, my view on America is very different to how it is in the UK, because guess what? America's a different country with a different culture and a different history. And I wouldn't say I'm qualified really to have a good opinion on it. I have my opinions of it, but I wouldn't ram that down the throats of an American, because I haven't lived there. I haven't been a part of the shooting community out there. I don't know what I'm talking about. I can only view from afar. So, take it from someone in the UK within the shooting industry. I think overall in the UK we are better off with firearm and shotgun certificates. I am a big supporter of the fact that you have mental and physical health screening. I'm a big supporter of having an interview, right? It's all well and good seeing that nobody has a criminal record, right? It just means they haven't been caught yet, right? Going into somebody's house, as obtrusive as it may be, going into somebody's house, sitting across from them at a table and having a 45-minute, hour-long interview is going to tell you more about that person than any bit of paper, you know, out there, right? It's going to, you know, the way their house is, the way they are in their own environment, you know, what objects are in their house, what paintings, what magazines and books are around. That tells you a huge amount about people, and I personally think it's a worthwhile price to pay in the UK, and I think overall it has made us safer, right? Again, it's not perfect, and there would be big changes that personally I would make, but yeah, is it public safety? Well, yes, it's, you know, I don't think anybody disagrees with having driving licenses, right? You need to show proficiency to use this bit of machinery before we let you loose on it, right? Why should it be any different to a gun? Now, in America, it is a lot different, right? Because you have the right to bear arms. That is how the country, you know, let's look at it another way. You know, America is made up of immigrants, right? It was people escaping countries, fleeing countries, or going for, you know, seeking brighter new worlds. And the people that went there and you know, founded America, having their own guns was probably could have potentially been reasons why they had gone there, and certainly obviously, you know, fighting off the British and oppressive government and stuff like that. That's the foundation, and it's like that's America's thing, isn't it, right? The right to bear arms. If you don't like it, you probably shouldn't live in America, and changing it, well, it's just never going to happen, right? So it's just one of those things. It's the right to bear arms. You can't fuck with that, right? Unfortunately, we lost it here in the UK, but America will always stand by that. And the expansiveness, right? I remember going out there for work. We were out in Salt Lake City, and it was like a 3-hour drive from our hotel to where we were working, and we about like almost equidistant, so like a good hour and a half into the trip, there was this like small ranch house, right? Maybe like 50 cows and like 50 sheep or so. I can't remember exactly what animals it was, but it wasn't like a small large farm. It was like just a little farmhouse with some animals out the back, and there was nothing for 100 miles, like in any radius, right? In that situation, you know, you've got cattle and you know, livestock to protect from predators, and there's a lot more predators out there in the States, so you need a gun. You know, what happens if you need food? You know, you want to go out hunting, you know, there's not you've got to drive 100 miles for a butcher's, like that's not really convenient, so you go out and hunt. And also protection, like you're not, you know, you're 100 miles away from any civilization. That means that the police are an hour and a half away from you, right? Or there's many situations that happen every single day, you know, in the UK that the police are 5 minutes down the road for. You hope, but in there you have to be more self-sufficient. You have to be able to protect yourself and you know, hunt for yourself and you know, be self-sufficient. And that for me is one of the biggest differences for guns in the UK. Like you can drive the width of the total width of the country in 5 hours here. You know, it's not, or quicker if you want to break many speed limits. But in America it's different. It's the new frontier. There are still areas of the States where the expansiveness just, it blows my mind, you know, and that's why I think it's very much a different thing. It's, you know, one thing that I have said before about the States and guns is maybe having a proficiency test. So not a license, but you know, you do like a safe shooter course, right? Or you know, you sit you know, maybe it's just literally 5 minutes with the gun shop owner telling you a preset amount of things, you know, like don't look down the barrel, you know, just even telling them the golden rules of shooting. You know, that's something that I personally think would help in the States. Yes, the majority of gun crime is done by gangs and criminals, of course, but in terms of the incidences that are harder to explain, you know, it's, you know, this well, again, like telling someone how to be safe with a gun isn't going to stop a school shooting. It's such a complicated thing, and it's one that, you know, I have my my opinions on, my views on, and I'll have a discussion with, but I'm not going to tell an American what they should or shouldn't do with their guns, right? You know, more power to you. Anyway, moving on. Thank you so much for saying that. Well, thank you for watching. So let me get this straight. If we change the culture, then we would be able to implement more gun rights. Am I correct? In what regard? If we change the culture, then we would be able to implement more gun rights. I mean, well, yeah. If you change the culture of a country to being a gun-loving culture, then yeah, you will be able to pass rights and new laws. I don't know. United Kingdom was united. Yes. United States are ununited. United Kingdom's the same. Yeah. I'm in England and I can't even post an English flag. What the fuck is going on with these flags? Like, what's the whole deal with the flag? Why? Like, you've intrigued me now. People go bum off. Hey, that's for Friday nights, all right? And I certainly don't do it on stream. Where's the flags here then? So many emojis. Oh yeah. Huh. How about that? That's why can't you post a flag? It's a gun channel, not a flag boy channel. Try being patriotic. Go on, I'll bite. How am I not patriotic? I believe YouTube's emoji system doesn't have the country-specific flags. Okay. So it simplifies to one flag emoji. But Richard Birds has the power. He has the power of the flag. And yeah, the FBI stats say that 8,000 to 10,000 gun owners a year, with 80% being inner cities. I don't see why we should add more laws for a problem that might go away eventually. Well, yeah, I mean, again, it's like here, since, I've said this so many times now, since 1920, every time more gun restrictions have been brought in, gun crime has risen. And when you look at the stats in America, the areas that have the highest gun crime have the strictest laws. Like, at some point, someone's going to get the correlation there, right? At some point, it's going to click for somebody. Like, we can keep betting because, you know, they have that light bulb moment, hopefully. Anyway, a fucked up trend, but still a trend. What trend? This place is going to hell. YouTube, England, America. Like, what are you talking about? On Friday, Missouri legislator passed the Second Amendment Protection Act to prevent law enforcement from enforcing U.S. federal firearms laws. And again, this is just something that like always makes me laugh. It is just so it's like when the U.S., you know, when they tried to bring in a federal ban, and I love it when the local sheriffs go, nah, I'm the sheriff, mate, of this town. Ain't happening. And you know, it's like this like small like town police sheriff is like that to government, you know. And of course you get your senators in the states. Like, it's so, whilst the United Kingdom is the United Kingdom, and you know there is a Welsh and Scottish Parliament and, you know, Northern Ireland Parliament, it's not, it is far more integrated than it is in the States. And I just love it when, you know, you get this, like the governor of, is it governor or like the senator of Texas that just goes, ha ha ha, AR-15 bad. Yeah, not in Texas, mate, not happening. Like, we will, what do they call it when, you know, we will leave. Like, we will become our own. We will become an independent country. And the thing is, like, I could see that happening. Like, just Texas, like, you know, welcome to Texas land. It's like, it's bonkers. Like, it's not bonkers. It's just, it's so fascinating for you know, us little old British. The fact that a state can just, like, nah, fuck you, not doing it. Nah, try again. Governor. At least he's not talking about cars. Well, should we talk about cars, David? My law is better than your law. ATF is going to try and ban pistol braces. Now, here we go again. Like, they are just doing it for the memes at this point, aren't they? There is, like, they know it's had no effect. It's flip-flop back and forth. And they're just like, oh, there haven't been any new ATF memes recently. Maybe we should ban pistol braces. Do you ever do any muzzle loading? I love it and never thought I would until I tried. Yes, I have done in the past. And actually, I should have just brought it up anyway when we were talking about it. The first video on the channel ever was of a muzzle loader. Let me bring that up. It's a 44 cal black powder revolver. I'll bring that up for you guys. Oh, just play. Let me just get that ready. So yeah, it's the first video on English shooting. So this was actually one of the first guns that I shot. This was down like the first session down the university range, and they cracked this out. This is like awesome. It's like, just like, it's like, this is like a handheld firework. Reload it. It did have a little bit of a mouth. It would like chain fire. You could only, like, if you were really brave, you would load up every other chamber. If you wanted to be a bit more sensible, you would only load one chamber, because there was a couple of times where, which you don't want happening. But in terms of more recently, muzzle loaders, they're technically not muzzle loaders, but the or cylinder loading is the Allen Westlakes. I've shot the Allen Westlakes a number of times. Like, fantastic guns. You know, really well made. Yes, you, for all intents and purposes, once the gun is loaded and you take it onto the range and you take those shots, you sort of forget that it's not a real revolver in a way. You know what I mean by real, you know, like a cartridge revolver. And you sort of like, this is what it's like owning a revolver in the UK, and then you go to reload and you spend 10 minutes like, you know, cylinder loading, and that sort of takes the fun out of it. But the thing I love about the Allen Westlakes is it's all about the experience of that gun. There is a whole experience. It's not about just going down and putting rounds down range, right? You have to sit there and press it all in, and you know all the different components for that. So there's a process. It's time. So you can go out and shoot like 20 rounds with an Allen Westlake, but that will easily be half an hour. That could be a whole range session just putting 20 rounds down range. And certainly it forces you to know a bit more about loading and powder and all that. And yeah, I'd love to have one. I did apply, pretty sure my application I applied for one. But it is shooting that you know, I want to get more into, and I'll be able to, you know, enjoy more. Some thumbs up, people. Absolutely hit that like button. Only Texas and Hawaii can fly the state flag at the same height as the US flag, legally due to being the only states that started as independent countries. I never knew that. Independent Texas, they can reopen the Texas embassy in London, and the attached cantina. It was the best Tex-Mex food in London for years. Keep the politics PG. Yes. Callum, do you agree that muzzle loads should be licensed? I think many countries, including Canada, Austria, and Sweden, do not require a license to own and shoot. Where do you draw the line? You know, if we, for a second, like, I know there's not going to be everyone that agrees with this, but for a second, if you agree, let's just, everyone for a moment, let's agree that certificates are a good thing, right? And we all agree that certificates need to be in place. It's a much difficult, I think it's an even more difficult question of where do you draw the line. Like, why do you have certification? It's to make sure that firearms don't fall into people's hands that they can go and do something bad with. Can you kill somebody with a muzzle loader? Absolutely. You know, but likewise, can you go and kill somebody with a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle? Yeah. Can you kill somebody with a crossbow? Yeah. It's so where is the line with that? I don't know. I would say any, you know, well, what's the definition of a firearm in the UK? It's something that that fires a projectile, you know, down a barrel, you know. So that's why air guns are technically firearms. You know, but there's certainly more power towards, you know, with a muzzle loader or a black powder than there is a 12 foot-pound air rifle. So it's muzzle energy. That's how we do it in the UK. It's effectively how powerful is that gun? Could it be lethal? Now, whilst a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle can be lethal, it would be, unless it's a child, which is obviously the most sort of horrific situation. But for most adults, you shoot an adult with an air rifle, a sub 12 foot-pound air rifle, the good chances are you're just going to piss them off, right? It's going to hurt. Are you going to have a good success? So maybe that's how the government does it. Whereas you get a shot from a muzzle loader, like you're going down, you know, in the right place and all of that, and we can have a whole, like, you know, do you need a 50 cal to take somebody down, or can you get, you know, do it with a 25 cal, but you have, you know, capacity over power and all that with your muzzle loaders, slingshot licenses, exactly, right? So where do you draw the line? I think if something is, you know, is easily lethal, let's like brush over exactly what I mean by it, like easily, but is easily lethal, you know, without even trying, it would be lethal if it hit somebody. That's, you know, why, you know, but then by that logic, should crossbows be on license? And actually, interestingly, there's a bit of an update on that. We did a whole live stream. So yeah, I really don't know. Would I campaign to take black powder pistols off of a firearm certificate? No, I don't think it's that big a deal. You know, I think we would be far better focusing our time on getting handguns back or semi-automatic full bores back. But if they weren't, would I be advocating for them to be on? Probably not. So it's just one of those that I think it's right on the line. Obviously some countries with better gun laws, like in America, I've been in gun shops where you can buy kits. You can buy like your own like black powder pistol kit and make your own black powder gun, which is nuts. But anyway, news on the not catapults, on not slingshot. Oh Jesus Christ, it's getting late. On crossbows. So we did a live stream where we were talking about potentially crossbow licenses. There had been a number of instances with crossbows, and I don't know if this had actually happened prior or after the thing, but there was that guy. I think this is pretty much what sparked that stream. Actually, there was a guy walking around the city centre with a crossbow, and the police sort of turned up. It was like a horrific situation, like a nutter with a crossbow late at night. Like, you don't want that. But it was just so like typical British police. Like, they turn up, oh, hello, what do we have here? Oh, it's a crossbow, run! And there's this like, they get out of the car and they're like, oh, he's got a crossbow. They just like run back towards the car, and then he drops the crossbow. So they're like, shit, he's dropped it. And they charge him again, and then he runs back and grabs the crossbow. And the police are like, okay, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. We're go for it. Like, you could see they were terrified of it, right? Anyway, that sparked this whole discussion about there potentially being crossbow licenses, and I really wouldn't put it past them. This is what we were saying. I gave it a percentage, didn't I? I said we're probably more likely to not have licenses than are likely, but I'm sure the discussion will come up. And based off of the failure of airgun licensing, I didn't think that they would ever bring it in, and we've sort of had that confirmed. So there's a petition at the moment to get crossbows, stricter laws governing the purchase, acquisition, possession of crossbows. 40,000 signature. It's not the biggest out there, but more signatures than we've ever had for a pro gun in recent years. And the government has responded. Crossbows are subject to statutory controls. Legislation is already in place to deal with those who use crossbows as a weapon. The government has no plans to legislate further at this time. Now, they could change that next week, right? They, at this time we don't, and then tomorrow they can go, at this time we do. But that is as good as we could really hope for. Like, nah, we've already got laws. We already deal with the people that run around doing silly things with them. So, we don't need to do anything more. So yeah, that's some positive news. Positive news for once. In terms of positive news, I do need to give the obvious and now weekly Magload plug. It is what pays the bills. If you don't want to support the channel in terms of donation or merch, there is new merch coming, by the way. It's coming soon. And thank you for anyone. There's been quite a lot of you that's bought the hats. I'm actually having to put in a second order for the hats. I didn't think they would be that popular, but really appreciate everyone I appreciate anyone that supports in whatever way. It's not just monetarily, but if you want to get, other than merch, you want to get something out for it. Of course, I work with Connors on Magload. It's Magload that pays the bills. So if you want to buy something on Magload, it helps. And there's some new products coming out. I haven't actually got the okay with Connors to talk about this, but he's not here. So coming soon, I'm going to give you all a little bit of a scoop and exclusive. Magload will be releasing their own 1022 bases. So they aren't extension bases, but this was after going to the speed stills and us wanting to get a little bit more into speed stills, and a couple of people approached us saying, why doesn't Magload make the bases? So they're like little extension bases, which makes them easier to load and unload. And Connors had a really old design for it, and he just got back into it. So that's coming out soon. So for any of you 1022 fans, the Magload bases for their mags. There is also going to be a standard enlarged button, bolt release button for shotguns. So we get a lot of questions about the M2. Like we make a enlarged button for the M2 SP and also the Beretta 1301, and it's also the anti sort of jam, the anti double feed button, because the original Cumps have issues. And so many people ask, do you do one for the M2? Well, the issue with the M2 is that it's not drilled and tapped as standard. But if you want to drill and tap it, we actually used to sell people the Beretta 1301 buttons, and say like, look, just use this, it will do the same job. But we're actually releasing a specific like standard shotgun. So if you have a drilled and tapped bolt release button, you'll be able to get this enlarged Magload button and make things easier to get onto and to release that bolt. And more interestingly, and something that I have been waiting forever, personally have been waiting forever, because Connors doesn't work particularly fast. He works very well. Like, the products are always amazing and they're always worth the wait, but you do have to wait. Charging handles. Enlarged charging handle. I have wanted a Magload enlarged charging handle probably since I first met Connors, right? And it's happening. The first batch is coming off the machine. They're going to go away for the various treatments of the metal, and they will be being released very, very soon. So yes, some big, well, the charging, like, we get loads of requests for charging handle. It's like one of just the must-do upgrades for any practical shotgun, and so many times I've said to Connors, like, how do we not have our own charging handle? You know, it's like sort of practical shotgun 101. Although probably the reason we don't have one is he's a pumper. He shoots standard manual, which doesn't need a charging handle. So he's probably like, fuck everyone else. Like, the pumpers are okay, but for us semi-auto shooters, charging handles are a big deal. And it's completely our design, made entirely in house. I'm very much looking forward to getting that and running that. Are the charging handles yellow? No, we haven't fully decided. I think we're the main body of the colour will be either a nickel plate, which Connor says is a slightly like golden silver, I think he said it is, or black. So basically silver or black, nickel or black. But it will come with sort of grip rings. Right, so you can, and I believe we'll be supplying all the different coloured rings, so you can have, you know, black rings, white rings, yellow rings, and all of that. So there will be colour customization that you can do to it, and yeah, very much looking forward to it. Do Magload make bits for the Titman 2.2? Abso-fucking-lutely we do. Let's I'll just bring up Magload, shall I? We don't make as many bits as we do for the 1522, but that's because Connors and I shoot a 1522 and not a Titman. So first off, the magwell. So the Titman specific magwell slides straight on there. 2 rear screws in the back, as you can see, which secures it in place. But yeah, Titman magwell. What else is compatible with the Titman? The ambi mag release, which is going to be the muzzle brake. Muzzle brakes works fine with the Titman, so you get all the benefits of that. So that's compatible. Breach flag, you can always have a breach flag. Where's the ambi mag release? The ambi mag release is also compatible. So the Titman is a bit of a weird gun. In the sense that it's sort of partially mil spec, but not fully. So it's like the ambi mag release is a, where is it? I can't bloody find it on our own site. There, it's right there. So this AR-15 ambi mag release works fine with the Titman, and I'll just show you what that does. So you get the enlarged button. We are due to take a whole load of new photos. The design has been tweaked slightly. So this is something that we always do with Magload, is we will make slight iterations with products, and we don't really say anything. It's just like, you can always make something better. And when we realise that there's something to do, or Connors realises there's something to do to make it better, we just do it. So there's a slightly different iteration, but it pretty much looks exactly the same and certainly functions exactly the same. So you get that large button. Oh, it's big. That large button on the side over the standard one, and then good job, Callum, there isn't a photo of the other lever. Right, I'll add that to my notes. Basically this bit here, so as you can see, this is quite chunky. So the profile of the standard part is probably to this dip here. So this ends up protruding from the gun, and actually gives you the ability to press it on the other side. That's what makes it an ambi. So it's sort of like an enlarged ambi, because you get the enlarged on this side and you get the ambi function on the other side. Apart from that, there's nothing else. We were trying to develop a Titman safety. It's just unfortunately too, like, it's too fiddly. It's too, like, first of all, we have other things to sort of like put the time into. Like, at the end of the day, Magload is a business. We've got to look at what the market is, and spending the time doing a Titman safety for us, like, it's just better for us to do other products. But yeah, the safety is a real bitch on the Titman. It's really well, it's completely proprietary for Tippmann, which again, it's like, it's sort of a mil-spec rifle, but it sort of isn't. Anyway, I have an idea for some coloured rings Magload could give away as free advertise. These will be popular with the ladies. Did you not? Oh, this. So this is probably one of the dangers of going on Magload, because obviously I'm an admin. There's certain products that are hidden, but I can still see. He says that, and the product I was looking for isn't there anymore. Let's see if I can find it. There was the, oh, what was it? I think actually still live on the site. It's the Quarantine Entertainment Pack. No, it's not there anymore. Basically, we had Magload condoms made. Right, they exist. We still have some. Some got used. You don't want to know. And the face boxes as well. That's something for the ladies. But yeah, they're not there. We did a quarantine pack. We got Magload branded condoms made. It was a bottle of Maglube, some tissues, and a Magload branded condom. And we said it was the COVID lockdown entertainment pack. We sold some. As I said, there's some sick fuckers out there. Oh, there are like dozens of 3DP gun channels from the US now. Print, shoot, repeat is the best. Not advocating any of you guys do it. It's mega illegal, and you'll definitely have fun with it. Yeah, we're getting more and more. It's becoming. There's a whole community, a whole culture of 3D printing guns, isn't there? And it is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think governments are getting more and more scared. But no one knows what to do about it. You can't. What is it? Can't stop the signal. Can England donate a few to the US so I can start collecting? It's not impossible to export a gun from the US. We actually there was an inquiry I heard about where Americans were contacting UK gun shops and asking if they could send over 9mm. Like that's how desperate things have got out there. Yeah. Who would dislike your stream? I have a few ideas. It's Shady Bob. It's shaded. Like, did anyone watch the previous video? The 3.8 million spent on gun buybacks. It's all about Shady Bob, right? Any hizzle. Hello from Canada. Our firearms are under assault, as well as including paintball, making them prohibited. They're banning paintball guns. Jesus Christ. Well, I suppose Australia are banning Nerf guns and gel blasters. But like a paintball gun is like easily distinguishable from any other firearm. It's got the hop, But thanks for stopping by, all the way from over in Canada. Hope you liked. Hope you've subscribed. £500 for an Enfield would be cheap here in the US for one. We'd trade you an Enfield for a 1522. 1522s are like £650 here. Enfields you can get pretty cheaply. Mosin Nagants, Jesus Christ, they've gone up. A friend actually sent me recently the one that I used to have, and I found the receipt, actually the original receipt for it. I paid £300 for my Mosin Nagant carbine, and yeah, then they're now selling for £750. Fantastic. It's a good investment. Maybe I should do a talk about gun investments. Mosins everywhere. Most likely troll are removed. Yeah, most likely. I think there are firearms like there are firms like Polaris that specialise in importing specific guns into the US for collectors. Oh, nice. Callum, when are we making the donut video? When you're free. You tell me. You sort it all out. Yeah, you let me know. You let me know when the range is free and we can do it, and we will make the donut video. I want a spud gun ammo very cheap. I want... You want a spud gun, ammo very cheap. Oh yes, yeah, very cheap. And if it all goes to pot, you can make some chips with it, right? Or fries, sorry. I want to start collecting Enfields here in the US, but you Brits are hogging them all. They are, yeah, they're getting harder and harder, you know, because they're not making any more of them. Like that's the one gun we get to hog, all right? You could, like everything else, but the Enfield is ours. We get to say who else has who else can have Enfields. That's our thing. And no, I haven't owned one to this day. I do want to change that when I get my certificates. Caliber Innovations import export firearms license. Have a import and export firearms license. So yeah, if you want to get anything exported, talk to Caliber. You will get fucked left, right, and centre from customs and all sorts, and it will probably take 6 months. That's not a thing about Caliber. That's just a general thing of exporting any sort of firearm in and out of in and out of the country. It costs a ridiculous amount and it takes forever. And that's why a lot of people don't tend to do it. Been shooting for 10 years and just applied for a high cap shotgun and semi-auto 2.2 to start more target shooting. Your videos help me choose which rifle to go for, so cheers. So I'm guessing you've gone for the 1522. I hope. Or maybe the battle arms. Or maybe the L119. There are no other options. Or I suppose an SF-15 from Lantac, right? I wouldn't be against that. But yeah, and Nicholas, like I'm really glad to hear like the videos have helped you. That's why they're there. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I do just want to, like, I don't want to be like, oh, you said it wrong, but I am. Just in future, change high cap for unrestricted. It's all about the branding with this sport, right? If we start saying high capacity shotguns, I'm sure I'm guilty of having said it in the past, right? Like I always say, license. Like I always say, you know, handguns are banned here. You know, but just a slight tweak. They're unrestricted capacity. Because what is high capacity, right? What your definition, or you know, the next person's definition of high capacity. You know, some definition of high capacity would be 2 rounds. You know, for me, 100 and plus. That's when you're really pulling in the big numbers. But yeah, no, really glad to hear that you've enjoyed the channel and it's been useful. But yeah, awesome stuff. And I guess if you've got that, it's you want to do some practical shooting. If you've got a section 1 shotgun and a semi-auto 2.2, come down and have a look at the UK PSA circuit. You know, get involved with that. You'll have a huge amount of fun. Your Delisle is nearly ready. Daniel, your Delisle has been nearly ready for like 5 years. Yes, I know Connor's had a small part to play in that, but you don't ask Connor to do something if you want it done quickly. Get the 1522. Yes, 1522. Good man. It's a good choice. Have you heard about the relatively new Webley Mark 7? No, I haven't. Gen 2 1522 is a great gun. The Gen 1 is. There's nothing wrong with the Gen 1. Like unlike the GSG 1911, there was a lot wrong with the Gen 1, right? Which they all ironed out in the Gen 2. There's nothing wrong with a Gen 1 1522. I bought one 6-7 years ago, I think. Put over 30,000 rounds through it. Fantastic gun. It's original Gen 1. It has the original extractor and original firing pin. The gun's just an absolute tank. And I sort of, like, you know, when I get my firearm certificate, I'll be wanting it to break. I'll be wanting an excuse to go out and replace it. But if that thing ever breaks, I'll be replacing it with a 1522. You know, like 100%. It's not saying I wouldn't necessarily entertain other options that are on the UK market. Ranges are open after 1 month of lockdown. Saturday 3-gun practice. Awesome. Good to hear. The sight is mounted and the ejector is next. Callum, why do you think the shooting industry is not as big as perhaps it should be? Um, failure to adapt. Um, so there's a promotional issue. I think we've as an industry have been incredibly slow, not still fully haven't adopted it in social media and sort of modern media, modern sort of forms of communication in a way. The gun industry is very much set in stone. It's very much set in its ways, and it's a real slog to sort of bring it into the 20th century. I mean, I have to say, I thought about this the other day. It's been a while. It's been a while since somebody's like criticized or berated me for the channel. I mean, in terms of being so like outward in terms of sharing the sport, I still get a lot of get a lot of haters still. But I remember when I first started, it was like there were people in like a blind panic, like, shit, there's this kid who's making videos about our sport and he's like telling the world, like, make it stop. I didn't stop. The people like really upset and worried that, by having a YouTube channel about UK guns, or about, English shooting, that was going to lead to the banning of every single firearm, right? And I have to say, the industry and I think community has become a lot more accepting. Like loads of I remember at one point you started posting, if you started posting pictures of guns on Facebook, you'd get people going, you can't do that, like, you shouldn't post pictures on Facebook, like, think of, people will know you have guns. And I'm like, that's the point, like, yeah, what's the issue? But people will know you've got guns. Yeah, I want people to know that we can own guns in the UK. Yeah, but they come to your house, right? They're in a safe. That's why we have safes. That's why we have security. Oh, but you're putting yourself at risk. Yeah, I'm putting myself at risk at, showing what car I have on Facebook. But it's about risk mitigation. That's for me to decide at what point I'm not happy to share or show something. But yeah, things have seemed to have died down a bit. The industry and community as a whole seems far more accepting of social media, and I think that's it's just paying dividends. People are finding the sport, entering the sport that wouldn't have otherwise. The other big reason that the industry isn't as big as it should be is the stigma. The public acceptance of firearms and shooting. Right. Again, I think that has a lot down. That is. That is the responsibility of our organisations, of big companies, to try and change that, rather than have this sort of sheltered, very sort of secular community. We need to, like, we're normal people, right? There's no one stereotype of a shooter, right? There's so many different people in the sport. Like, I know doctors, I know accountants, I know lorry drivers, I know landscapers, mechanics, did I say lawyers, solicitors, from some of the MPs, I know some MPs in the sport, so from the really top, like, upper echelons, of professionalism, right down to your average day, your everyday Joe. But that's what's so amazing about the sport. Like, everyone can do it. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, right? It's actually one of the few sports that men and women can compete on a level playing field, right? It's very accessible for disabled shooters. There's many different disciplines that a disabled shooter or a person that is disabled, is again on a level playing field as somebody else. So it's incredibly inclusive, and this is what I think our organisations need to be putting out there. The discipline that it teaches in kids, I think that's a huge advert for the sport. It teaches respect, it teaches discipline, and it also installs trust, right? And responsibility, and you start giving a child responsibility. That's when they learn, and they will grow, and they get respect for things. They have discipline for things because they know they have responsibility. And with responsibility, you know, there are certain requirements. And I think a big problem with society today is discipline of the youths. You know, and I think actually shooting sports is a great, you know, there's no fucking about. You know, you do something wrong on a range, you're going home, right? You're not going to stay at the range for very long if you do something bad. So either be here and do as you're told, or fuck off. You know, and it's not, shooting's one of those, oh yeah, but everyone's got to be included. No, if you can't behave, you're not going on the range. As simple as. And I think there's a lot to be gained there for society. I think it teaches people quite a lot. The Brits with guns. Yep. UK NRA now has a Facebook presence. Yeah, the YouTube channel shit though. Like, I have to say the NRA. oh, that did tickle me. So I'm just gonna check it. But yeah, the NRA YouTube channel leaves a lot to be desired. NRA UK. But having said that, they're oh, that's just beautiful. Oh, that is just beautiful. Now I know Google and YouTube will maybe change the search results to you, but if you type, maybe you should all do this. Go onto YouTube and type in NRA UK and see what comes up, because this is what comes up for me. Oh, that's just brilliant. I bet you the NRA love this. Anyway, moving on. Oh, it's me again. So yes, five down. Oh, it makes me chuckle. So I think that's a brilliant advert, that if the NRA are looking for any consultation on YouTube and videos, like, I'm obviously doing something right, that I'm coming above them in the search results. But yeah, they just don't post any videos. They did do a whole spate at some point. They were doing like regular ones, but it's not the best channel. Like, the thing is, the facilities that they have there, the videos they could be making, or moreover, the videos that I would love to make there, but like trying to get a video approved there is just like nigh on possible. Oh, at this point he looked like he was having far too much fun. Yeah. Oh, I can't be having that. You know, or I got told the music was too frantic. You mean enjoyable? Right, the music was nice. It was enjoyable. It was it was engaging. So and so had a beanie on. It was cold. Don't think it gives shooting the right look with a beanie. Anyway, it's that's why I don't film at Bisley. And common misconception is, whilst I don't have an NRA membership, I'm not banned from Bisley, and I'm not banned from filming there. The agreement that I have is that I can film at Bisley, but anything that I film at Bisley has to be approved by the NRA before it's released. And I've unfortunately wasted too many days of my time filming and editing videos to help the promotion of the sport and the promotion of the NRA and Bisley. Yes, I like taking occasional pot shots at them, but I will give them credit, right? I will, it's a fantastic facility. There are things there, there's no range that comes near it in the UK. And I would love to be promoting the hell out of it. I'm just not going to waste my time doing a video for it to be just, oh, so-and-so has a beanie on, therefore it's not going to be released. Like, I don't really like, if there's an anti-gunner that's watching a shooting video, the last thing they're going to have an objection for is the beanie, right? But anyway, yes. But yes, the NRA, in fairness, I will give them credit. Let's bring this up. So for those of you that don't know, if you run a Facebook page, the insights are actually quite insightful. And you can actually see and compare. I think I've done this before on the live stream. You can see and compare yourself to other pages, and it gives you quite a bit of information about other pages that you might want to compare to. So if I bring up the analytics for it, you can see 1 minute. I'm just getting it. Instead of you, like again, the risk of me showing something here that I shouldn't are far too high. So let's bring. Here we go. So these are what I follow on English Shooting. Oh, 1 sec. There we go. So this what, and I follow these for various reasons, right? So you can see, you know, Basque, they're like one of the large. They have like one of the largest presence on Facebook, and they are post, like, again, credit where credit is due to Basque. They post a lot and they get a lot of engagement. They've got a lot of likes. You know, I think they may be the most liked shooting page on like UK shooting page on Facebook. NRA of the UK, you know, again, a fucking stellar effort, 34,000. Not posting as much, okay engagement. I mean, I would expect that to be, you know, 20-30,000, just like Basque. British Shooting Show, Northern Shooting Show, again, big pages. So, you know, I like comparing myself to the best and see like how I'm doing compared to that. Just for the lols, basically. I like watching Mike Yardley, of course. Like Rack and Load Neil, you know, he's got double the likes, bastard. But you know, Neil, you know, in terms of the social media, I want to be comparing myself to people, you know, like Neil. You know, see how they're doing. The Gun Shop, obviously, and Magload. That's more in there, just so I can see both Magload and English Shooting in one analytics. But it shows you total page likes. This has been broken for weeks. Really has. Like, it used to show you the percentage growth. It doesn't anymore. How many posts they're doing. So you know, you can see, and then obviously the engagement. Now the engagement, usually it's a little better than this, but you can see, like, compared to the NRA, whilst they've got a big page, you know, they've got like 6 times, nearly 7 times the likes, but their engagement is like half. You know, that's why I say I would expect it to be a little bit more. Mike Yardley, well, he just waffles on about God knows what. Yeah, shit engagement. Obviously, Neil, if you're watching, you need to post more, right? It's like zero post, no engagement. That's why. Come on, it's like 101. And Gun Shop as well. Like, again, videos are superb, but come on, post. But yeah, so you can compare it, and obviously there's all the analytics of the channel. Hasn't been a particularly busy week on Facebook. I haven't posted that much, but yeah, so credit where credit was due. The NRA, they're one of the largest UK shooting pages on Facebook, you know. But if they want to know how to make some nice videos, hit me up. Just make videos for here. Who? Where's here? Wearing a beanie is bad. Dude, there is literally a gun channel in the US that did shooting drills with one guy in a chicken costume. Hold my beer. NRA, not really asked. Yep, especially when it comes to gun bans. English Shooting, lack of discipline for kids is what is causing mass killings, in my opinion. Yep, you know, mental health issues. You know, not giving people not giving people trust and responsibility and discipline. That's not going to help your mental health, is it? POI dead in the water, and yet we're at 95,000 members. You can't just add up all the members of the group, Daniel. It doesn't work like that, because there's a lot of duplications. But yeah, it's a big network of groups. Bisley used to be very welcoming when you could just turn up and shoot unlimited, but these days it probably helps to go there with a club. Yeah. Just checked my YouTube Callum and got exactly the same. Makes me happy. It does. I mean, I would prefer it maybe wasn't just me slagging the NRA off being the first one, but reloading components getting scarce there as well. Like, if you're talking about do you mean in the UK? Not particularly. Again, because we have limits on what we can buy and hold at any one time, it does stop any panic buying, because you can't do it. Primers are like non-existent in the US right now. There's loads of rubbish. There's loads of reloading vids on YouTube. Yeah, it's a dangerous game to play. Like, again, YouTube can't like necessarily see every single video and detect whether there's something that goes against their community standards. Reloading videos do. Like, as far as I'm aware, unless they've changed it, but as far as I'm aware, you show any reloading, yeah, you could get your channel taken away. But anyway, before I head off, hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed. But I am going to call it there, guys. If you're new to this, we do it every single week at 7:30 on Thursdays. We've been pretty religious with that. So it's same time, same place every single week. And of course, there's at least one video every week as well. I'm desperately trying to get the speed still video out. It's approved. It's been edited. I just need to do the voiceover for it. And I will try and get that out as soon as possible. Hopefully, it will be out next. In terms of other videos, there's some interesting stuff going on in the background, as I keep telling you. Part of the reason I'm so busy and today was a bit hectic, but once that's all finalized, there'll be some really cool videos coming out of that. But yeah, as always, guys, I really appreciate you guys dropping by, joining the conversation, and yeah, just hanging out for the evening. But it will be same time, same place next Thursday at 7:30 UK time. You can find the link obviously through the channel, or we always post it on Facebook. But I really hope you all have a fantastic week. Really hope all the best for shooting over the weekend. If you've got that planned, I hope that all goes well. But yeah, really appreciate it, guys, and as always, I hope to see you soon.